Welcome to the Oracle's Rest, a place where stories unfold slowly, where time softens, and where the mind is free to wander. Tonight, we drift down beneath the waves into the quiet blue world of the octopus, a creature with 3 hearts, blood the color of deep water, 8 arms that can taste and feel and almost think on their own. Tonight, we move slowly through the strange and gentle life of the octopus, a soft animal living in a hard world, hidden among rocks and shadows at the bottom of the sea. Imagine the sea floor at dusk. The light from above has already turned thin and silver. It filters down through the water in long, slow shafts. And there, tucked into a crevice between stones, 2 dark eyes watch the world go by. The body behind those eyes is soft, boneless, almost liquid. It can pour itself through a gap no wider than a coin. It can become a rock. It can become sand. It can vanish completely while you are still looking at it. This is the octopus, and for the next while, we are going to sit quietly beside it and learn the things that make it one of the most remarkable animals on earth. The octopus is an old creature, far older than people, far older than the forests and the grasslands. Cephalopods, the family the octopus belongs to, have drifted through the oceans for hundreds of millions of years. Long before the first dinosaurs walked on land, soft tentacled animals were already moving through ancient seas. They watched the continents shift. They watched countless other animals appear and disappear. And through all of it, the octopus and its relatives kept drifting quietly along the seafloor, changing slowly, surviving. The octopus is not entirely alone in its strangeness. It belongs to a wider family, the cephalopods, which holds the cuttlefish with its rippling fins and its hovering grace, and the squid, swift and silver in the open water, and the nautilus, drifting in its coiled and ancient shell. They are all cousins, all built on the same deep plan, all carrying that quick cleverness the family is known for. But of them all, the octopus is the most solitary, the most boneless, and in many ways, the most curious of mind. It is the one that gave up its shell most completely. It is the one that learned, better than any of its kin, to vanish. There are around 300 different kinds of octopus known to science, perhaps more still waiting to be found. Some are larger than a person, others are smaller than a thumbnail. They live in nearly every ocean on Earth, in warm tropical reefs, in cold northern waters, in tide pools along rocky coasts, and far, far below, in the deep places where sunlight has never reached. Wherever there is salt water, there is likely an octopus somewhere nearby, hidden, watching, waiting for night. And perhaps the strangest place to begin is with the heart, because the octopus does not have one heart. It has three. Two of those hearts sit near the gills. Their only job is to push blood through the gills, where it gathers oxygen from the water. The third heart sits in the center of the body. It takes that oxygen-rich blood and sends it out to the rest of the animal. Three hearts beating together, slowly, in the cool, dark water. There is something gentle about that image. Three small hearts working quietly inside a soft body. And there is one more curious detail. When an octopus swims, the central heart actually stops beating. Swimming tires it, strains it, and so the octopus, given the choice, would rather not swim at all. It would rather walk. It crawls slowly across the seafloor on its arms, unhurried, keeping all three hearts beating in peace. The octopus, in its own quiet way, a creature that prefers the slow path, and its blood is not red, like ours. The octopus has blue blood, pale blue, drifting toward a soft, greenish color when it carries oxygen. Our blood is red because it carries iron. The octopus uses copper instead. A molecule called hemocyanin moves the oxygen through its body, and copper turns that molecule blue. This is not simply a curiosity of color. Copper-based blood works better in cold water and in water where oxygen is scarce. It allows the octopus to live in the deep, in the cold, in the still and shadowed corners of the sea, where other animals would struggle to breathe. The blue blood is part of how the octopus survives the dark. Three hearts, blue blood. And already we are only beginning. Because the octopus also has something close to 9 brains. Or at least, that is one way people like to describe it. There is one central brain, ringed around the animal's throat, behind those watchful eyes. And then there are 8 more clusters of nerves, one running down the length of each arm, Each arm carries its own small network of nerve cells. Each arm can feel and move and react, partly on its own. If you could watch the nerves light up, you would see thinking happening not just in the head, but spread out through the entire body, all the way to the tips of the arms. In total, an octopus carries around 500 million nerve cells. And here is the part that feels almost dreamlike. Roughly 2/3 of those nerve cells are not in the central brain at all. They are in the arms. The arms are not simply limbs that the brain commands. They are more like partners. They explore, they taste, they make small decisions. An arm can reach into a crevice and search for food while the central brain attends to something else entirely. The octopus is a creature whose mind seems to flow outward into its limbs, into the water, into everything it touches. And those arms can taste. This is one of the gentlest, strangest facts about the octopus. Along the underside of each arm run rows of suckers, hundreds of them. A large octopus may carry around 2,000 suckers in total, and each one of those suckers is not just for gripping. Each sucker is covered in tiny receptors that can taste and smell the world by touch. When an octopus reaches out and lays a sucker against a stone, it is tasting that stone. When it touches a shell or a crab or the sand itself, it is reading a quiet flood of information through its skin. It tastes everything it holds. The whole surface of the arms is alive with sensation. Picture that for a moment. An animal that tastes the world simply by touching it, reaching slowly into the dark, each sucker whispering back what it finds: salt, stone, the faint trace of something living that passed by hours ago. To the octopus, the seafloor is not silent and empty. It is rich with flavor and texture. A landscape it reads with its arms, the way we might read with our eyes. And the suckers do more than taste. Each one can move on its own. Each one can grip and release independently. A single arm lined with hundreds of small, sensitive, flexible suckers can hold a clam in one place, while another part of the same arm works to open it. The octopus can use its arms like hands, like tongues, like 100 small fingers, all working at once. It can untie knots. It can unscrew lids. It can open latches and pull at threads. All slowly, all patiently, all in the soft quiet of the water. Now let us return to those eyes, because the eyes of the octopus are something remarkable in themselves. They are large and dark and surprisingly similar to our own. They have a lens and an iris and a retina, much as a human eye does. And yet, the octopus is only distantly related to us. Our last common ancestor was something simple and ancient, drifting in the sea more than 500 million years ago. An animal with nothing you could really call an eye at all. This means that nature built the camera eye twice, once in the long line that led to fish and reptiles and birds and people, and once entirely separately in the line that led to the octopus. Two different paths through hundreds of millions of years, arriving at almost the same beautiful solution. Eyes that gather light through a lens and focus it into an image. When you look into the eye of an octopus, you are looking at one of evolution's quiet repetitions, the same idea discovered all over again in a soft and boneless body. And yet, there is a puzzle hidden inside those eyes, as far as scientists can tell. The octopus is most likely colorblind. Its eyes appear to carry only one kind of light receptor, which should mean it sees the world in shades of brightness rather than in color. And this is strange, because the octopus is one of the greatest masters of color in the entire animal kingdom. It can shift its skin through reds and browns and yellows and ghostly whites. It can match the exact color of the reef behind it. How can an animal that cannot see color paint itself so perfectly into a colorful world? The answer is not fully known, and that is part of the wonder of it. One idea is that the octopus senses light not only through its eyes, but through its skin. There are light-sensitive cells scattered across its body, which means the skin itself may, in some quiet way, perceive the glow of the world around it. The octopus may feel color across its whole surface, even as its eyes see only light and shadow. We do not fully understand it. The octopus keeps some of its secrets still, but we do understand, at least a little, how the color change itself happens. And it is a marvel. Just beneath the surface of the octopus's skin lie millions of tiny structures called chromatophores. Each one is a small sac of pigment, surrounded by a ring of muscles. When those muscles pull, the sac stretches wide and the color spreads across the skin. When the muscles relax, the sac shrinks back to a tiny dot and the color fades. The octopus controls these structures directly with its nervous system, which means it can change color almost instantly. In the time it takes you to draw a single breath, an octopus can shift from pale sand to dark stone and back again. Beneath the chromatophores are other layers still, cells that reflect light and create shimmering blues and greens and silvers, cells that scatter light into soft whites. Together, these layers let the octopus become almost anything. A patch of coral, a clump of algae, a shadow, a stone. It does not simply hide behind things. It becomes the thing itself, and color is only half of it. The octopus can change the very texture of its skin. Tiny muscles can raise small bumps and ridges and spikes across its surface, structures called papillae. With them, a smooth, soft octopus can suddenly grow rough and craggy, matching the jagged texture of a rock or the frilled edges of seaweed. Color and texture together, changing at once. In seconds, a living animal becoming a piece of the landscape, then peeling away from it again and slipping off into the dark. It is worth pausing on how complete this disappearance can be. Divers have told of watching a bare patch of reef, only for that patch of reef to lift up, unfold a ring of arms, and swim quietly away. The octopus had been there the whole time, in plain sight, perfectly still, perfectly matched. The eye simply could not separate it from its surroundings. There are few magic tricks in nature more total than the vanishing of an octopus. And when hiding is not enough, the octopus has another defense, one that is famous the world over. It releases a cloud of dark ink. The ink is made largely of melanin, the same pigment that colors human skin and hair. When a predator draws too close, the octopus can fire a plume of this ink into the water, a dark, drifting cloud that hangs in place and blurs the world. Behind that cloud, the octopus jets away, often changing color in the same instant, so that the predator is left chasing a shadow, while the real animal slips off pale and silent in another direction. The ink does more than simply blind. It also carries compounds that can dull a predator's sense of smell. muddying the chemical trail the octopus leaves behind. So the cloud is not only a screen for the eyes, it is a screen for the senses entirely. A soft animal with no shell and no spines, defending itself with nothing more than darkness and distraction, and then disappearing into the deep. And how does it jet away so quickly? This animal that does not even like to swim. The octopus has a kind of built-in propulsion. Along the side of its body is a soft tube called a siphon. The octopus draws water into its body, then squeezes that water out through the siphon in a sudden jet. The force pushes the animal in the opposite direction. The way a swimmer pushes off a wall with a few sharp pulses, the octopus can shoot backward through the water, trailing ink, fading in color, gone before a predator can react. And then, once it is safe, it settles back to the sea floor and returns to its preferred pace. Slow, quiet, walking. There is a softness to the octopus that goes all the way down. It has no bones at all. Its only hard part is its beak, a small structure at the center of its body, where the 8 arms meet. Shaped a little like the beak of a parrot, everything else is muscle and skin. And this is why an octopus can do something that seems almost impossible. It can squeeze its entire body through any opening larger than that beak. A creature the size of a dinner plate can flow through a gap no wider than a coin, through cracks in rocks, through the necks of bottles, through the smallest holes in a fishing net. Aquarium keepers know this well. An octopus is one of the great escape artists of the animal world. Given the smallest opening, it will find it and pour itself through and go exploring. There are old stories, many of them true, of octopuses slipping out of their tanks at night, crossing a stretch of dry floor, finding a neighboring tank full of fish, having a quiet meal, and returning to their own tank before morning. The keepers would arrive to find fish mysteriously missing, and an octopus resting innocently in its tank, giving nothing away. The boneless body is a key that fits almost any lock. That same softness lets the octopus fold itself into the smallest of homes. Many octopuses live in dens, small hollows among the rocks, or inside empty shells, or in any sheltered nook they can find. They will gather stones and pile them at the entrance, building a small wall to hide behind. Some have been seen carrying away discarded shells or bottles or other odds and ends, and arranging them into a kind of fortress. The octopus is a homebody at heart. It wants a quiet, dark, defended place to rest, and it will go to real trouble to make one. And here is something that surprises many people. The octopus is genuinely, deeply intelligent. Among animals without backbones, it is almost certainly the most intelligent of all. And its intelligence is not the warm, social kind we see in dolphins or wolves or elephants. It is a solitary intelligence, a private one, the intelligence of an animal that lives mostly alone and solves its problems alone. In the dark, octopuses can learn. In careful studies, they have shown that they can find their way through mazes and remember the path. They can learn to open containers, to reach food inside. They can be shown a task once and learn it by watching. They can tell individual people apart and have been known to take a liking to some keepers and a clear dislike to others, greeting one with calm curiosity and another with a well-aimed jet of cold water. There is a personality in there, a particular animal with preferences of its own. Perhaps the most charming proof of octopus intelligence is its use of tools, one kind. The veined octopus, sometimes called the coconut octopus, has been seen gathering up the two halves of a coconut shell or two halves of a clam shell, tucking them under its body and carrying them across the open sea floor. It walks awkwardly on a few arms, hauling its load, looking for all the world like a creature carrying its luggage. And when danger appears, it pulls the two shell halves together around itself, sealing itself inside a small armored ball. It has carried its shelter with it, ready to use when needed. To plan ahead like this, to carry a tool now for a use that may come later, is a rare and remarkable thing in the animal world. There is play in the octopus, too. In aquariums, octopuses have been given small objects with no food reward at all. Simple things: a floating bottle, a plastic toy. And some octopuses have been seen pushing these objects into the current, letting them drift back and pushing them again, over and over, for no clear reason except it seems the doing of it. It looks, to our eyes, very much like an animal playing, an animal exploring its world simply because it is curious about it. And curiosity may be the truest thing about the octopus. It reaches out, it investigates, it wants to know. And those gentle, exploring arms are far stronger than the soft body would ever suggest. The hundreds of suckers along a single arm can take hold with a grip that is hard to break, clinging to glass, to stone, to the shell of a stubborn clam, with a quiet and surprising power. Researchers have given octopuses jars sealed with screw-on lids, with a crab or a shrimp resting inside, and watched the octopus work the lid slowly around with its arms until it opened. And the meal was won. Some octopuses, placed inside such a jar, have even learned to unscrew the lid from within, pushing out into the open water. It is patient, careful, deliberate work, all of it done without hurry. The soft arms turning and pulling until the puzzle gives way. And through it all, the octopus seems to be paying attention, watching, learning, remembering the trick for the next time. And throughout all of this runs a quiet sadness woven into the octopus's life, which only makes its brightness more touching. The octopus does not live very long. Most kinds live only 1 or 2 years. The brilliance, the color changing, the problem solving, the curiosity, all of it is packed into a life shorter than that of a house cat by far. The octopus burns brightly and briefly. It learns its world quickly, lives intensely, and then is gone. And the way its life ends is one of the most tender stories in all the sea. For most of an octopus's life, it lives alone. But once, near the end, it will reproduce. And after that, everything changes. The female octopus finds a sheltered den and lays her eggs, sometimes tens of thousands of them, hanging in delicate strings from the roof of her shelter. And then she stops hunting. She stops eating. She gives herself entirely to her eggs. For weeks, and often for months, she stays with them. She blows gentle currents of fresh water over the eggs with her siphon, keeping them clean and full of oxygen. She brushes away algae and silt with the tips of her arms. She guards them against anything that comes near. She does not leave to feed. She slowly grows weaker and thinner and paler, spending the last of her strength on the eggs she will never see grow up. And when at last the eggs hatch and a cloud of tiny octopuses drifts up into the water to begin their own lives, the mother's task is complete. She has given everything, and soon after, she dies in the deep sea. This devotion can reach almost unimaginable lengths. Off the coast of California, scientists once watched a single deep-sea octopus brooding her eggs in the cold and the dark. They returned to the same spot again and again over the years, and she was always there, still guarding, still tending, still alive. She brooded those eggs for about 4.5 years, the longest such watch ever recorded for any animal. 4.5 years in the cold and the black, never leaving, never eating, simply keeping her eggs safe until they were ready. There are few images in nature as quietly moving as that. A soft, patient creature, alone in the dark, holding on for years out of nothing but devotion. This pattern, this single great act of reproduction followed by death, is woven deep into the octopus. Scientists have even traced part of it to a small gland behind the eyes, called the optic gland, which seems to set these final changes in motion. The octopus is, by its nature, an animal that gives its whole self to the next generation, all at once, and then lets go. Its life is short and bright and complete. Let us drift now through some of the many kinds of octopus, because they are wonderfully varied, and each carries its own quiet marvel. The largest of all is the giant Pacific octopus. It lives in the cold waters of the northern Pacific, along rocky coasts and down into the deep. A large one can stretch its arms more than 14 feet from tip to tip and weigh well over 100 pounds. Though most are smaller, it is a gentle giant, spending its days tucked into rocky dens, coming out to hunt crabs and clams and fish. Despite its size, it can still change color in an instant and still squeeze its enormous soft body through surprisingly small gaps. Of all the octopuses, it lives among the longest, perhaps 3 to 5 years, which by octopus standards is a long and patient life. At the other end is the tiny blue-ringed octopus, small enough to rest in the palm of a hand. It lives in the warm waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. often in tide pools and shallow reefs. Most of the time, it is a quiet, drab little animal. But when it is alarmed, brilliant blue rings flash to life all across its body, glowing and pulsing as a warning, and the warning is real. The blue-ringed octopus carries one of the most powerful venoms in the sea, far stronger than its small size would suggest. It is a reminder that gentleness and danger can live side by side, and that the smallest creatures sometimes deserve the most respect. Watched from a careful distance, the blue-ringed octopus is simply beautiful. Those electric rings glowing softly against dark skin. Then there is the mimic octopus, perhaps the finest actor in the ocean. It lives in the shallow, sandy waters of Southeast Asia, and it does not only hide, it impersonates by folding and coloring its body in particular ways and moving in particular rhythms. The mimic octopus can take on the appearance of other animals entirely. It can flatten itself and ripple along the seafloor like a flat, venomous fish. It can tuck most of its arms away and extend the others stiffly, drifting like a banded sea snake. It can pull its arms up and back to resemble the spreading spines of a lionfish. It chooses its disguise. It seems to suit the threat at hand. An animal that not only changes its color, but changes its very identity, borrowing the shape of whatever is most likely to keep it safe. And far below, in the deep, dark sea, lives the gentlest looking octopus of all, the dumbo octopus. It takes its name from a pair of soft fins that stick out from the top of its body like two great ears, waving slowly as it moves. The dumbo octopus lives deeper than almost any other, thousands of feet down, in the cold and the silence. It does not jet or dart. It drifts, flapping those ear-like fins, hovering through the black water with a slow and dreamlike grace. There is something deeply peaceful about the dumbo octopus, this small, pale creature flapping quietly through the deepest dark, far from any light, perfectly at home. Higher up, drifting in the open water, far from any reef, lives the blanket octopus, and it is one of the strangest of all. In this kind, the female and the male could hardly be more different in size. The female grows large, sometimes more than 6 feet across, trailing long sheets of webbing between her arms like flowing veils. When she spreads them, she unfurls into a great shimmering blanket, drifting through the blue. The male, by contrast, is tiny, smaller than a walnut, a soft speck of an animal living an entirely different life in the same wide sea. Few animals anywhere show so vast a difference between female and male, and the blanket octopus carries a borrowed weapon. The young ones and the small males have been seen drifting through the water, holding fragments of stinging tentacle torn from the Portuguese man-o'-war, that drifting creature whose sting most animals fear. The blanket octopus seems to be immune to those stings, and so it carries the broken tentacles like small whips, a stolen defense held out against anything that comes too close. A soft animal, borrowing the sting of another, and drifting on unbothered through the open sea. Stranger still is the Argonaut, sometimes called the paper nautilus, though it is truly an octopus and not a nautilus at all. The female Argonaut does something no other octopus does. She makes a shell, not a shell grown from her body like a snail's, but one she builds herself, secreting a thin, pale, brittle case with two specialized arms, winding it around herself like a delicate paper boat. She rides inside it, drifting near the surface of the open ocean, holding her eggs safe within. She even traps a small pocket of air inside the shell to help her float at just the right depth. A soft octopus, sailing the open sea in a paper vessel of her own making, is one of the loveliest sights the ocean holds. And in the deep, there is the seven-arm octopus, one of the very largest of all, which can grow to enormous size in the cold, dark water. Its odd name comes from a quiet trick of the body. The male appears to have only 7 arms, because his 8th, a specialized arm used in mating, is normally coiled away and hidden in a small sac beneath one eye. So he swims through the deep, looking as though he is missing a limb, when in truth it is simply folded out of sight, kept safe until it is needed. This hidden arm is part of a wider pattern among octopuses. In many kinds, the male uses one specialized arm to pass a small packet to the female when they mate. In some, that arm even detaches entirely and stays behind with her, the male swimming away without it. It is one more example of how the octopus does things in its own quiet, unexpected way, solving the oldest problems of life with a body unlike any other. And though the octopus is mostly a solitary creature, it is not always entirely alone. Off the coast of Australia, in a quiet bay, divers found something surprising. A place where many octopuses of one kind had gathered together, living close beside one another among the shells and the silt. The researchers gave these places playful names: octopus towns and underwater cities. There, the octopuses interact. They signal to one another with shifts of color, darkening when bold, paling when they wish to avoid a quarrel. They reach into one another's dens. They evict one another and move house and settle disputes in their own slow way. For an animal long thought to be a hermit, it was a gentle revelation that octopuses can, at least sometimes, have neighbors. And in these gatherings, researchers saw something almost comic and oddly endearing. An octopus, it turns out, can throw. It gathers up a small armful of silt or a few empty shells, holds them beneath its body, and then jets a sharp burst of water from its siphon, sending the debris flying through the water. Sometimes the silt simply settles, and sometimes it sails across and strikes another octopus nearby, who may duck or raise an arm or move away. Whether it is truly aimed, no one can say for certain, but it is one more small window into the surprising inner life of this animal, throwing handfuls of the seafloor through the quiet water. And there are octopuses that break even the gentlest of the rules we have drawn tonight. We said the octopus lives alone and mates once, and soon after dies. For most, this is true, but there is a kind called the larger Pacific striped octopus that lives differently. It is a small, beautifully patterned animal, striped and spotted in dark and pale, and it is, by octopus standards, almost sociable. Pairs have been seen sharing a single den. They sit together, and when they mate, they do so face to face, beak to beak, in a way no one expected of an octopus. The female does not lay her eggs all at once and fade away. She may lay batch after batch over a longer span of time, tending each in turn. It is a quiet reminder that nature rarely keeps to a single pattern, and that even among octopuses, there are gentle exceptions, animals that have found another way to live. And in the deepest dark, where no sunlight ever reaches, a few octopuses carry their own small lights. Most octopuses do not glow, but certain deep sea kinds have suckers that have changed over the ages into tiny points of light, glowing softly in the black water. They no longer grip with these suckers. Instead, the small lights may lure curious creatures close or guide the octopus through the dark. Faint sparks drifting in the deepest night of the sea. An octopus glowing quietly in the abyss is among the strangest and most beautiful images the ocean keeps hidden from us. And there is one more quiet grace in the octopus's eye worth, pausing on our own eyes, for all their power, have a small flaw, a blind spot, a place where the nerves pass through the back of the eye and no image can form. The octopus, building its eye along its own separate path through the ages, ended up without that flaw. Its eye has no blind spot at all. Where our vision has a small gap, we never notice. The octopus simply sees. It is a small thing, and yet a lovely one, that this soft creature, in its own slow way, arrived at an eye in some respects even cleaner than ours. Even the home of the octopus can become a kind of quiet signature. Outside many a den lies a small scattering of empty shells and picked clean remains, the leavings of past meals, pushed out and gathered at the doorway. Divers learn to read these little piles, these middens, as a sign that an octopus lives within. The way one might know a house is lived in by the small things left on its porch. Some octopuses seem almost to garden these heaps, arranging shells and stones around their entrance. A soft creature tending the threshold of its small home at the bottom of the sea. These are only a few. There are octopuses that glide along reefs in broad daylight, and octopuses that never leave the deep. There are octopuses the size of your fist, and octopuses that could wrap their arms around a person. There are octopuses that have learned to live among the wrecks of sunken ships, and octopuses that gather, now and then, in loose groupings on the seafloor, in places researchers have nicknamed octopus cities. Each one is soft, each one is boneless, each one carries those 3 hearts, and that blue blood, and those tasting arms, and that bright, brief life. And there is something restful in returning, again and again, to the way the octopus simply lives. Think of a single octopus at the end of a long day. The light fades from the water above. The reef grows quiet. The octopus settles into its den, pulls a stone or two across the entrance, and tucks its arms in around itself. Its color softens to the gentle tones of rest. Its 3 hearts beat slowly. The water moves gently in and out across its gills, and in the dark of its small, safe shelter, the octopus rests, a soft, thinking creature folded quietly into the rocks, while the sea drifts on around it. There is more to wonder at in this soft body, the longer we sit beside it. Consider that small tube along the side, the siphon, the same one the octopus uses to jet away. It is one of the busiest parts of the animal. Through it, the octopus breathes, drawing water into its body and passing it gently over the gills, then pushing the spent water back out. Through it, the octopus fires its ink. Through it, it jets across the water when startled. And through it, the octopus keeps its home in order, blowing streams of water to sweep silt and scraps from the floor of its den. One soft funnel used for breathing and fleeing and cleaning and hiding, all by the patient pushing of water. Consider the beak, that one hard part in all this softness. It is made of a tough material called chitin, the very same stuff that forms the shells of crabs and the hard cases of insects. The whole rest of the octopus, all that boneless muscle, is built around this single firm point where the 8 arms meet and the food is taken in. The size of that beak sets the limit of the octopus's great escape trick. As long as a gap is wider than the beak, the soft body can follow. The beak is the one thing it cannot squeeze, the one small kernel of hardness in an animal made almost entirely of yielding flesh. Consider the eyes again, and a quiet wonder hidden in the way they hold themselves. No matter how the octopus turns its body, no matter how it tilts or twists among the rocks, its pupils tend to stay level with the world, held steady against the pull of gravity by small balance organs, deep inside. So as the octopus rolls and flows across the uneven sea floor, its view of the world stays calm and even, the horizon kept gently in place, and those eyes can see something we cannot. They are sensitive to the way light is polarized, to patterns in the light that are invisible to human eyes. This hidden sense may help the octopus pick out the faint, near transparent bodies of small prey drifting in the water, shapes that would otherwise be impossible to see. The octopus reads a layer of the world that is closed to us entirely, and here is perhaps the most astonishing fact of all. Hidden deep inside the cells of the octopus, most animals, ourselves included, follow the instructions written in their genes with very little change. The octopus does something different. It edits its own instructions on the fly, especially in its nerves. It can rewrite the messages its cells send, adjusting them as it goes. And it does this far more than almost any other animal known. Some scientists believe this constant self-editing may help the octopus tune its nervous system to changing conditions, perhaps to the cold of the water around it. Whatever the reason, it means the octopus is, in a quiet chemical sense, always revising itself, always adjusting, a creature whose very cells stay flexible and open to change. It is a fitting trait for an animal, so good at becoming whatever the moment requires. The flexibility runs all the way out to the arms, and there is something almost eerie about how independent they truly are, because each arm carries so many of its own nerves. An arm can act even when it is cut off from the central brain. A severed octopus arm, for a little while, will still move on its own, still curl, still grip at things it touches, guided by the network of nerves running through it. The arm, in a sense, still knows how to be an arm, even on its own. And the living octopus seems aware of this independence. Its arms are so free roaming that the animal appears to have ways of recognizing its own skin, so that its tasting arms do not mistake one another for prey or tangle themselves in confusion. 8 arms, each half a mind of its own, all somehow working together as one gentle, coordinated creature. Even the way an octopus walks can surprise you. Some kinds can rise up and walk backward on just 2 of their arms, holding the other 6 up and gathered, tiptoeing across the open sand. It is thought they do this to disguise themselves as they travel. The gathered arms above, looking, perhaps, like a drifting clump of algae or a rolling coconut, while the animal slips quietly away beneath. An octopus walking on two arms, pretending to be a piece of floating debris, is one more small piece of the endless inventiveness of this creature. And all of this is held together by memory. The octopus does not simply react and forget. It remembers. It can hold on to what it has learned. The path through a maze, the trick to a latch, the face of a particular person, and call that knowledge back when it is needed. In a life that lasts only a year or two, it gathers a real store of experience and uses it. The octopus learns its small world quickly and keeps what it learns, living each brief day a little wiser than the last. We do not know for certain whether octopuses dream, but there are gentle hints. Researchers watching resting octopuses have noticed something curious. From time to time, while the animal lies still, ripples of color pass across its skin, browns and whites and reds, flickering and fading. The same kinds of changes the octopus makes while awake. Some have wondered whether these quiet color shifts might mean the octopus is passing through something like sleep, perhaps even something like a dream, the patterns on its skin echoing whatever moves through its mind. We cannot know for sure, but it is a soft and lovely thought. An octopus asleep in its den, colors drifting across it like the surface of a pond touched by a passing breeze. And throughout history, people who lived beside the sea have known the octopus and woven it into their stories. Ancient peoples of the Mediterranean painted octopuses on their pottery, spiraling arms curling across cups and jars, and the walls of old palaces, beautiful and strange. Fishermen everywhere have told tales of it. Some saw it as a monster of the deep. Others saw it as clever, almost magical, a creature that could outwit anyone. And in truth, the real octopus is more wonderful than any monster because it is genuinely strange, genuinely intelligent, and genuinely alive in ways that no story needed to invent. Even now, with all our science, the octopus keeps surprising us. Researchers still puzzle over how its skin senses light. They still marvel at how a soft animal with a distributed mind can solve problems we once thought only the brainiest creatures could manage. They still find new species in the deep, lifted gently from the dark by submersibles and remote cameras. Small pale animals no human eye had ever seen before. The octopus reminds us how much of the ocean remains a mystery, and how much intelligence and beauty and quiet life is hidden beneath the waves, going about its business without us, as it has for hundreds of millions of years. There is comfort in that thought. On a quiet night, that somewhere right now, in the dark, warm shallows and the cold, deep trenches, octopuses are drifting and resting and reaching out their arms to taste the world. That 3 small hearts are beating slowly in 1,000 quiet dens. That ribbons of colour are passing across resting skin. That mothers are tending their eggs in the patient dark. That the soft and ancient octopus continues, as it always has, far below the surface of our busy world. Let us drift back down once more, gently, and stay a while longer in that blue world, because there is comfort in its slowness. Consider again the arms. 8 of them, each one capable, each one curious. Watch how an octopus moves across the sea floor. It does not march. It flows. One arm reaches out and finds a hold among the stones. Then another. Then another. The body follows softly behind, poured along by the patient pulling of the arms. There is no hurry in it. There is no straight line. The octopus simply moves the way water moves, finding the easy path, slipping around obstacles rather than over them, always feeling its way forward with those thousands of tasting suckers. And when an octopus hunts, it does so with the same unhurried grace. It does not chase most of the time. It hunts by patience and by touch. It will spread its arms and its webbed body like a soft net over a patch of reef, then reach its tasting arms down into every crack and hollow beneath, feeling for the crabs and shrimp and small creatures hiding there. Anything it finds, it draws gently in. It is a slow, thorough, careful kind of hunting, more like searching pockets than like a chase. The octopus takes the world apart gently, one crevice at a time, for prey with shells. The octopus has its patient ways as well. It can pull a clam open with the slow, steady strength of its arms. And if a shell will not open by force, the octopus has another method. With its small, hard beak and a rough, tongue-like structure, it can drill a tiny hole through the shell, and through that hole deliver a softening venom that loosens the animal inside. Then It simply waits and draws the meal out. There is no struggle, no violence we would recognize, only patience and time and the quiet certainty of an animal that is in no rush at all. It is worth remembering that the venom is not only for the blue-ringed octopus. Nearly all octopuses are, in fact, mildly venomous. They use it to subdue the small prey they eat. But for almost all of them, this venom is far too weak to trouble a human in any way. The octopus is, to us, an entirely gentle creature. It has no interest in anything as large as a person, except perhaps as something curious to be looked at and touched and tasted with one careful arm before slipping back into the safety of its den. And what becomes of those arms? If one is lost, here is one more quiet wonder. The octopus can regrow them. If an arm is bitten off by a predator or otherwise damaged, the octopus does not simply lose it forever. Over time, a new arm grows in its place, complete with its nerves and its muscles and its rows of tasting suckers. The new arm works as well as the old one did. Few animals can rebuild a part of themselves so completely. The soft octopus is also, in its way, a healing one, able to make itself whole again after harm. It is worth drifting back for a while into the deep past, because the softness of the octopus is itself a long story. The relatives of the octopus reach back across hundreds of millions of years into seas so ancient that the land above held no flowers and no birds, and nothing we would recognize as a forest in those old oceans. The ancestors of the octopus wore shells, hard coiled cases that they carried on their backs for shelter, for armor, for safety. Some of their cousins wear such shells still, but the line that led to the octopus made a quiet and remarkable bargain across the ages. It gave up the shell. It traded armor for softness. It traded the safety of a hard case for the freedom of a boneless body. And in doing so, it gained everything we have marveled at tonight. The ability to pour through the smallest gap, to fold into the tightest den, to flatten and stretch and flow, to become the rock and the sand and the shadow. A shelled animal is protected, but it is also fixed, locked into one shape forever. The octopus chose the other path. It became soft and clever and endlessly changeable, and it has thrived in that softness for an immense stretch of time. We do not have many fossils of these ancient octopuses because soft bodies so rarely leave a trace in stone. But the few we have whisper of a very old story, of a creature that long ago set down its armor and learned, instead, to disappear. And the body it built in place of that shell is strange all the way to its center, the brain of the octopus, that central ring of nerves behind the eyes is wrapped directly around the animal's throat. The food it eats passes straight through the middle of its brain on the way down. It is a curious and ancient arrangement, unlike anything in our own bodies, and yet it has served the octopus well for ages beyond counting. Everything about this animal is built on a different plan from ours, and yet it arrives again and again at intelligence, at curiosity, at care. Two utterly different ways of building a mind, ours and the octopus's, both of them somehow working, and the octopus reads its world through senses tuned to the water. More than anything, it is a creature of touch and of chemistry. It tastes the sea with its arms, as we have seen, but it also smells the water all around it, reading the faint chemical traces that drift on the currents, the scent of prey, the trace of a predator, the signals of another octopus passing through. To the octopus, the water is not empty. It is full of quiet messages carried on the slow movement of the sea, and the octopus drinks them in through its skin and its arms and the soft tissues of its body, building a picture of the world from smell and taste and touch as much as from sight. Some octopuses are such patient and creative hunters that they have learned to work alongside other animals entirely. On certain reefs, an octopus hunting in the daytime may be joined by fish who follow it from crack to crack, hoping to catch whatever it flushes out into the open. And the octopus, far from chasing them off, seems at times to lead these loose hunting parties, flowing across the reef with a small crowd of fish trailing behind, each creature taking its share. It is a gentle, opportunistic kind of teamwork, an octopus and a handful of fish moving together across the coral in the warm afternoon light. And the octopus is hardy in its soft way, far hardier than it looks. Octopuses turn up in the most surprising places. Children exploring the rock pools along a coast at low tide sometimes find one tucked beneath a stone, a small octopus waiting out the low water in a shrinking pool. And if its pool grows too poor, the octopus can do something few sea creatures manage. It can heave its soft body up out of the water and crawl across the wet rocks, breathing for a little while in the open air, until it slides down into a deeper, fresher pool nearby. It cannot stay out of the water for long, but for a few minutes, a determined octopus can travel over land, a creature of the deep sea, making a brief, slow journey across the bare rock between one pool and the next. And when the octopus finally rests, even its sleep holds a small mystery worth lingering on. Researchers watching sleeping octopuses have come to believe that the animal passes through more than one kind of rest for long stretches. The octopus lies quiet and still, its color calm, its body soft and unmoving. And then, now and again, for just a minute or two, it shifts into something more active. Its skin flushes and flickers with passing colors. Its eyes move. Its arms twitch gently, and then it settles back into stillness once more. This brief, active kind of rest looks, to those who study it, remarkably like the stage of our own sleep in which dreams arrive. We cannot follow the octopus into its sleep to know what passes there, but the resemblance is striking and tender. A soft animal at the bottom of the sea, drifting through quiet rest and brief, flickering rest, much as we drift through the quiet and the dreaming hours of our own nights. There is a lesson hidden in the body of the octopus, if we care to find one. It is soft, in a sea full of hard and armored things. It has no shell to hide in, no spines to threaten with, no great speed to flee with most of the time. And yet it thrives. It thrives by being clever and patient and adaptable, by becoming the rock when it needs to be a rock, by pouring itself into the smallest safe space, by solving the problem in front of it, slowly, with all those distributed minds working together. The octopus shows that softness is not weakness, that intelligence and patience can be their own kind of armor, that an animal can be gentle and still endure. And endure it has, across spans of time that are hard to hold in the mind. The oceans have passed through great upheavals, ages when countless kinds of life vanished from the sea forever. The shelled cousins of the octopus, those coiled and armored creatures that once filled the ancient waters, eventually faded and were gone, but the soft octopus, carrying no shell, asking little, slipping into the cracks of the world, came through. It is a survivor of a very old and patient kind. The octopus we watch tonight is the heir of an unbroken line that has drifted along the seafloor through age after age, quietly outlasting disasters that erased far mightier animals. There is a deep steadiness in that. Beneath all the octopus's quickness and colour, it is, at heart, an old survivor. And up close, each octopus meets the world with a curiosity all its own. Like us, an octopus tends to have its favoured side. It will often lead with a particular eye, or reach first with a particular arm, returning to the same trusted limb for the trickiest tasks. The way a person reaches with a stronger hand. There is a real individual in there, with habits and leanings of its own. Divers who have spent time near octopuses tell of being slowly approached, studied by those dark, steady eyes, and then gently touched. A single arm reaching out to rest upon a hand, the suckers tasting, exploring, deciding. It is a strange and quiet kind of meeting between a person and an animal so utterly unlike them, and yet it can feel oddly like being greeted. Perhaps that is why people across the world, for a very long time, have felt the pull of this creature. Sailors and shore dwellers told stories of it. Artists carved it and painted it. Those spiraling arms curling across pottery and prints, and the walls of old rooms. Island peoples who lived close to the sea wove the octopus into their oldest tales, into their songs of how the world began. The octopus has lived in human imagination almost, as long as it has lived in our seas, a figure of mystery rising from the deep. And what we have slowly learned only deepens the wonder. The real octopus needs no myth. It is strange enough, and gentle enough, and clever enough, exactly as it is. And the sea it lives in is vast beyond easy imagining. The octopus on its small patch of reef is one creature among countless others in an ocean that covers most of the planet. Above it, the water rises for hundreds, sometimes thousands of feet, toward a distant silver surface. Below it and around it stretch reefs and sandy plains and rocky shelves and deep, dark trenches. And through all of it move the currents, slow and endless, carrying the smell of distant waters, the drifting young of 1,000 species, the patient pulse of the tides. The octopus feels these currents against its skin, reads them with its arms, and goes on, living its quiet life within the great moving body of the sea. When night falls over the ocean, the octopus comes more fully into its own. Many octopuses are most active in the dark or in the soft, dim hours of dawn and dusk. They leave their dens and move out across the reef to hunt, color shifting to match the shadowed stones, arms reaching ahead to taste the way. The night sea is full of quiet movement, small fish resting in the coral, crabs picking their way across the sand, and among them, unseen, the octopus, flowing softly from crevice to crevice, a shadow among shadows, perfectly at home in the dark. And then, as the first light returns to the water above, the octopus returns to its den. It settles in. It draws its stones around it. It folds its arms in close. Its color softens. Its 3 hearts slow. And it rests through the bright hours, a soft, thinking creature hidden safely in the rocks, while the reef goes about its day above and around it. Day after day, this gentle rhythm, hunting in the dark, resting in the light, the slow turning of an octopus's quiet life. It is easy, thinking of all this, to feel a kind of tenderness toward the octopus, this animal that is so different from us, with its boneless body and its blue blood, and its mind spread out through its arms, and yet so familiar in its curiosity, its cleverness, its care for its young. We meet it across an immense distance of time and difference. Our last shared ancestor drifted in the sea more than 500 million years ago. And yet here, in the eye of the octopus, there is something that looks back, something that watches and wonders and recognizes. We are very far apart, the octopus and us, and somehow also not so far at all. Let the mind settle on that for a while. The octopus in its den, watching the water, the slow beat of 3 hearts, the blue blood moving quietly through a soft body, the arms folded in, each one dreaming its own small dreams, if dreams they are, the colors drifting now and then across the resting skin, like clouds across a pale sky. The whole gentle animal at rest in the dark, asking nothing, harming nothing, simply being as it has been for longer than there have been forests or mountains as we know them, or people to wonder at it. The ocean keeps its slow rhythms through the night. The currents turn. The tides rise and fall under the distant pull of the moon. The water grows colder as it deepens, and darker, and stiller, and everywhere through it, in the warm shallows and the cold deeps, in tide pools and reefs and the black plains of the abyss, the octopuses rest and drift and reach out softly to taste the quiet world. 3 hearts, blue blood, 8 thinking arms, a soft and ancient mind in a soft and ancient body, folded gently into the rocks, dreaming in colour while the sea drifts on. And perhaps that is the most restful image of all to carry into sleep. Not a monster of the deep at all, simply a soft, clever, gentle creature resting in its den at the bottom of the sea, safe behind its small wall of stones, arms curled close, colours moving slowly across its skin, hearts beating softly in the dark. The whole vast ocean breathing quietly above it, and the octopus at peace within it. As the night settles deep over the water and over us, the currents move on. The reef grows still. The silver surface, far above, catches the last of the light and lets it go. Down in the dark, the octopus rests, soft, quiet, folded into the stones. 3 small hearts, slowing, blue blood, cooling, colours drifting like a passing dream across the patient's skin. The water grows darker. The reef fades into shadow. The octopus draws its arms in close and is still, soft body, quiet den, slow hearts in the dark, water moving gently over gills, colours fading, the deep drifting on, stillness, and the long, slow breath of the sea.